Alright guys, today we're going to talk about how my granddad became a homesteader in 1929. But first we're going to cut up this white oak for you on the sawmill. Let's see what this wood grain looks like on this white oak. So in 1929, my granddaddy and his brother were working in the city for a rail yard, and they were making 10 cents per hour shoveling rocks at the rail yard. So I guess he was about 24 at the time, and he decided he didn't want to shovel rocks at the rail yard anymore, and his grandparents lived out here close to where our land is now, and he said, I want to go back out to where my grandparents live. And him and his brother said, we're going back to where our grandparents live. So they came out here in 1929 during the Depression, and they bought some land, which is the land I'm working on right now. And they bought it from a guy, and it was told to me that the man told them they had as long as they needed to pay for it. He just wanted to get rid of the land. I guess the taxes were kind of eating him up at the time. During the Depression, I think nobody really had any money, and they couldn't even pay the taxes on it. So they bought that land, and they paid $5 an acre for it. And you can look up how much land is worth now. But they moved out here and basically became homesteaders. Now, they didn't call it homesteading back then. They just called it living. But they had goats, they had cows, they had fields, and they had to clear up a lot of bottoms and stuff with their cross-cut saws and things like that. So those old men who were young at the time, they knew how to work. But they had a vision. They had a vision of their children and their grandchildren, and as the Bible says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And it also says, he who leaves his children's children as an inheritance is a wise man. So my granddaddy and uncle had a vision for their children before they even had children. So they cared about things like that before they even needed to care about it. But those men, they worked, and if you saw the fields that they had now, a lot of them are grown up in trees, but to have to clear that up, I can't imagine the amount of work that they had to do that without power tools. They didn't have running water. They got their water from a well that they had to dig with a shovel. I mean, I don't know how they did it, but they became a very tough generation. So it would be the fathers of most of the people it would be the fathers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers of most of the people that listen to this show. But you learn a lot of things from an old guy like that you're not going to learn in today's time. We're so dependent on grocery stores and gas stations and all those things. And those guys, they lived at a time when you didn't need gas. They had horses. And I was fortunate enough to grow up with them until I was 12 years old and got to see, how those people are, the character that they had, and the way they would take care of each other. And that's something that we miss. So, I would encourage you, if you have some memories of your grandparents, or if you are grandparents yourself and want to make some memories for your grandchildren, just write some of that stuff down and write some of the stuff in your life down. And your grandkids will appreciate it when they read back on that one day. Now, they might not today, if they're teenagers or if they're little, they may not think about it. But when they get 30, 40 years old, they'll read back and say, man, I don't know how Granddaddy did that. But those original homesteaders, they really had it tough. I don't really consider myself just a die-hard homesteader, because I don't, I got running water, cable TV, internet, things like that. But I guess some people would consider me a homesteader, but it's just the way I've always lived. I don't really, we never had chickens growing up, but we just didn't do that. But now I do, because my son wanted them. But we got a lot better than what our grandparents had, but I don't know that we are better off just because of the way things are going. But those men, they knew how to work, and they could outwork anybody. They took pride in work to the point where if you called them to come work at your house, they weren't going to let you outwork them. They were going to outwork you. That's the kind of people they were. But all right, guys, we're going to take this white oak back to the barn, and maybe on the next episode you can see us planing it in the old Wood-Mizer planer. But thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.